deep in the heart of Texas, this is Drinkin Dynasty. And now, your hosts, Luke Wilson and Sweet Lou.
Thank you, Breece. That was our first ever voiceover intro from none other than, he goes by many names, Breece, Billiam, other things I can't say on a podcast. He is a man of many names. Thank you for that voiceover intro.
Welcome. An awesome job.
He crushed it. He crushed it. I think that's going to be a new thing for us, is we're going to have a rotating cast of voiceovers. Maybe I'll get people from these breweries to do the voiceovers. In fact, so Lou, as you know, but not everybody knows, we have a tour of Dallas breweries upcoming. We're going to be starting with one over in the Addison area here in the Dallas area, but looking to get some more on the schedule. If you discovered our podcast, our little operation at a brewery recently and are now listening back through our back catalog of episodes, I gotcha. I knew you would do it. All right. Episode 15. Lou, how are you, and what are we here to do tonight?
I'm doing great, man. You know me, I'm always excited to discuss Dynasty Fantasy Football with my boy Luke. Today we're going into some buy low targets in the AFC, man. So going through the teams one by one and picking a guy that we think is a great target for our listeners.
Specifically, just a little extra clarity, specifically guys whose markets are down over the last 6 months, 12 months. I had to, 16, AFC has 16 teams. There's a lot of teams. I had to play a little fast and loose on a couple of teams to get a guy that I felt decent about. But yeah, we're looking for guys that you can maybe slip in on for a little bit back a book, a little bit under retail price. Lou, you didn't ask about this situation.
Oh yeah, man. What's up with that sexy new look, man?
So I have a rule that whenever one of my rookies on a dynasty team gets popped for a felony charge, that I have to shave it all the way down. I wind up shaving it all off a few times a year. That's my system. Lou, tell us the latest. Quinshon Judkins, obviously, he's having a bad week.
Good question. What if two rookies get popped? Are you gonna, you know what I'm saying? Are you gonna shave that head too, or what's up?
I shave a different situation at that point. Let's hope it doesn't come.
Time out. Let's change that subject.
I'm cutting this out. Yeah. Anyway, Quinshon Judkins.
Quinshon Judkins was the big news, man. Allegedly struck his girlfriend in the chin mouth area. Not a good look.
No.
Followed by some hits to the arm and thigh area. Apparently, there's photo evidence of bruises in those areas. Again, we don't condone this kind of thing, but looking at it through a fantasy lens. What's your take on Quinshon Judkins right now? Are you staying away? Are you trying to buy in? What's your take?
It's similar to Rashee Rice last year, March of last year with, obviously he had the big car wreck on the freeway here in Dallas. Nobody knew what to do with him. Jordan Addison, there's a guy like this every year. Alvin Kamara. These guys come along once or twice a year where it's like, he got in a lot of trouble. What do I do with him? I'm inclined to, if you have him, you got to hold. That's how I feel. You're gonna get pennies on the dollar right now. It's very unlikely that he's gonna get the death sentence or anything like Dante Stallworth or Henry Ruggs. It's not that level of offense based on the NFL's track record. I certainly also don't condone it.
Yeah.
But this is not a moral contest. This is a football contest, and that's how the Browns are gonna approach it too. Which is to say that they're not going to release him like what the Chiefs did with Kareem Hunt a few years ago because they need him. So anyway, if you can stomach it morally, ethically, I would send a low ball trade. I would send RJ Harvey for Quinshon Judkins right now if I had. I actually don't have either. I kind of lied. I made a joke for the facial hair. I actually don't own either in any leagues. I meant to. I intended to. But send RJ Harvey for him. I don't know about Caleb Johnson, but rookies that went a few picks after, if you can get somebody to jump on Matthew Golden for Quinshon Judkins all day, because Judkins will be back. He will be back from this. It doesn't super feel like it right now, but worst case scenario is he misses 8 games this year. on suspension. The problem is he's a good football player, and the NFL has shown us time and again. Greg Hardy, Joe Mixon, another situation involving a woman on video, he survived that. And Joe Mixon, what did they do? They said, "Oh, he's a young man, he made a mistake." There's a good chance that's what is going to be the kind of the prevailing wisdom here with Judkins. Now, if video emerges, throw all that out the window, because video is the one true killer for these guys. Ask Ray Rice. But
then you get into Ray Rice territory. Yeah, I mean,
what do you think?
There's a few concerning things. Like he still hasn't signed his rookie deal as of yet, right? So that's a little concerning to me. And then
right. That's yep.
We're talking about dynasty, so the name of the game a lot of times is patience. So there's a real situation, like you just mentioned, where he could be suspended 6 games, 4 games, whatever the case may be. So you got to be willing to deal with that and know that, in terms of fantasy football, he's a really talented running back and prospect. So I'm with you. I think if you own him, hold. If you can buy low, if a manager is scared in your league, buy low.
Yeah, I agree. It's distasteful. It's not very palatable thing to be talking about here. But, there's a chance that this guy winds up being extremely fantasy relevant in a few months. And, we have to care about that. The Tyreek Hills, the Joe Mixons, they're a part of this hobby. So,
Exactly.
Lou, before we run away with ourselves, are we having any beverages, any refreshments tonight, my friend?
Yes, sir. Let me show you this can right here, man. I'm making a habit of picking out some badass cans.
Oh yeah, you are. Look at that artwork.
So this is from Martin House Brewing Company. It's Mayday IPA.
Nice.
So it's fitting because we're diving into some AFC buy lows. So we can target guys that can save your dynasty roster in case of injury, so you don't have to hit that Mayday button when those injury bugs hit.
There we go. Y'all, that's Lou's thing. He ties the episode into the name of the beer, and he always does a nice job of it. I don't do that in advance. I'm going to see if I can do it right now. I want to be like Lou, if I can be like Mike. All right, I am back to finish off my allotment. Oh, yeah, what's the ABV on that, by the way? I care about the ABV.
6%.
Okay.
6%. So not one of my higher ones, but still really good beer.
Martin House is another. That one's up here. That's in like the Fort Worth area up in here in Nortex. Not down in Sotex like you. So I need to contact them and see, hey, you want Drinkin Dynasty to come out? We can come out to you. All right, I'm finishing off my 12-pack of Manhattan Brewing Project here in Dallas, Texas, with the West Coast style IPA. I've got a guy that I'll be talking about here in a little bit from a AFC West team who has West Coast roots. And I will be closing out the podcast with him. So that's my attempt to be. Nice. That's my attempt to do the Lou thing. It wasn't that good, but it's all right. All right.
I liked it though. I liked it.
So we've got bad news on the one hand with Quinshon Judkins. Any fantasy boys, big fantasy names, have any good news this week, Lou?
Yeah, our boy Garrett Wilson got paid today. 130 mil, 90 guaranteed, 4 years. The New York Jets did something good. They also, side note, we don't do IDP, but Sauce Gardner got paid as well.
True.
But getting back into Garrett Wilson, does this change your fantasy outlook on him?
Well, not in redraft, not for 2025. The Jets are locked in. He's gonna be the passing game. AJ Brown for the Eagles last year logged one of the few target shares over 30% that we've seen in the last few years. Garrett Wilson is staring that in the face. Now, granted, the Jets might not throw it 500 times. 4 teams last year did not attempt 500 passes in the regular season. The Jets could join that club this year. Long term, I got to be honest. Long term, I thought Garrett was going to be out of New York. I thought there was maybe not a 50-50 shot, but a real shot, like a George Pickens level shot, that he was not going to be back with the Jets in 2026. Obviously, that's pretty much out the window, especially if this works. If this new regime with Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, who he brought along with him from Detroit, the new GM, his name escapes me at the moment. But if this works, and they don't have to make the playoffs, but if they are respectable, if they go out and win 7 or 8 games, and it looks like, hey, maybe we have something figured out here, Garrett Wilson's probably going to be in New York long term. Right now, that doesn't look so bad because it seems like maybe Woody Johnson is stepping back a little bit from the football operations, taking the stink of himself off of the Jets a little bit. Knock on all the wood there because it's Woody Johnson. If he gets bored, he's going to reinsert himself big time. But if that's true, and Aaron Glenn can, DeMeco Ryans is the perfect example here. The Houston Texans in 2023 were lost. You're a huge Texans fan. Like, that organization had nothing going for itself. Keep in mind, Nico Collins had not emerged and become a world beater yet. Like, they all they had was, like, they knew that they were going to have the number 2 overall pick. They were hoping they were probably going to get a quarterback. DeMeco Ryans came in and he completely changed the culture of that organization from the top down. The hope has to be, that's got to be the reason that they brought in Aaron Glenn. He's not a proven commodity. They have no idea if he's going to actually win football games, but they believe that he can make them feel like winners, regardless, because that's what Dan Campbell did for the Lions in 2021. They sucked. They were 0-10, but they believed. They believed in what they were doing going forward. That's clearly what the Jets are trying to do here. So, in a situation where, yes, the quarterback situation long-term is very much TBD, they do not want to throw the ball any more than they have to, clearly, but Garrett Wilson has no competition. I think you would have a hard time finding a receiver anywhere in the NFL with less direct competition, even DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf now has Jonnu Smith, and Roman Wilson could do something this year. Even Garrett Wilson has even less than him. So, is the ceiling super high target-wise, yardage-wise? No, but the floor is high as hell. It just is. So, yeah, no, but the contract doesn't really move the needle. It's not, whatever, sure, it's good, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm the same. My opinion on the player itself hasn't changed. And going back to what you were mentioning, if I'm in a PPR league, I want Garrett Wilson. Like, moving forward, he's gonna get the targets, man. Like, There's no competition. And you said this episodes ago, and I'm gonna keep bringing it up. Like, Breece Hall legit might be wide receiver number 2 on the team.
Good point.
I thought he was an amazing player before, and he's still an amazing player. I'm glad that Jets made a smart move as they go into like this new era with Aaron Glenn, which, by the way, used to be a former Houston Texans. He was on that expansion team, so just throwing that out there.
I still remember the game that the Texans played against the Steelers, where the Steelers outgained them in total offense like 390 yards to like 100. Like, it was a joke. But Aaron Glenn took 2 interceptions back to the house for 6, and the Texans won that game like 24-7, I believe. So yeah, in his day, Aaron Glenn was a bad man. All right, we talked Quinshon, we talked Garrett, we said the beers. Do we do the deed?
Let's do the deed. Let's start with the AFC North. Luke, let's have you get us started with the Ravens.
The Ravens, yes, nevermore. I looked over the Ravens, with teams like Baltimore, like Cincinnati, where the team is coming off of a very strong year offensively. It's harder. It is just harder to find those types of guys, the types of guys that we want for this episode, because we're looking for guys coming off of down years, coming off of injuries. The whole team stunk last year. Not really the case with Baltimore. But there is one guy, I'm going to go with kind of the obvious one, I think, which is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, people are really backing away from Mark Andrews kind of globally in Dynasty right now. And I kind of get it. I see why. Like, everybody knows Mark Andrews sees Isaiah Likely coming in his rearview mirror big time. And I think it's easy to look at like what just happened in Jacksonville, where Brenton Strange, who hasn't really even proven anything, but he got the Jaguars to buy into him enough to be like, okay, well, we're gonna go out of our way to rip Evan Ingram out of this offense and put him on the street. Obviously Evan Ingram, he landed okay. But, you see something like that happen. Obviously, also the Eagles are pretty open about the fact that they're looking to get out of the Dallas Goedert business long term. Like, it's easy to look at those guys and look like, well, Mark Andrews isn't, is he that much better than those guys? Is he that much more integral to this offense? Whether he is or he isn't, like Mark Andrews, if Baltimore is done with him after this year, which, that's possible. That's possible. If they are, he's got too much of a proven track record. He's going to land somewhere as the guy. So, I don't understand why people who like get so afraid of like, oh well, the team is gonna be done with him. The NFL ain't. Like, if the Cardinals are done with Kyler Murray after this year, is that instability? Sure, But is he going to be starting somewhere in 2026? Almost definitely. I mean, it would be crazy for him not to. So basically, I'm saying in Dynasty, people are too skittish about like, oh, they're going to get rid of him. So what? So anyway, so Mark Andrews has 0.54 touchdowns per game where he played, like more than 40% of the snaps over his last 88 games. So basically all of his regular season games since his rookie season in 2018. 0.54 touchdowns per game. That's more than George Kittle and Travis Kelce over that time. Kittle 0.46, Kelce 0.47. So he is, you could say he's in a class of his own amongst, tight ends that are, still basically in their prime, which he is. He's younger than both those guys too. When it comes to scoring touchdowns. And, the recipe that the Ravens had for just cranking out touchdowns last year, they brought the whole thing back. Lamar's back. Derrick Henry's back. Everybody's back. So there's really no reason to be betting against him. Now, yes, the Isaiah Likely situation. Yeah, that's uncomfortable for sure. After the Isaiah Likely disaster, and that's part of it too, is like in the season opener last year, everybody was freaking out, losing their minds because Andrews gets blanked and Likely goes crazy for whatever it was, like 9 for 111 and a touchdown. He almost had that second touchdown to win the game. His second foot was out by like a centimeter. So yeah, that had everybody freaking out. After that, rest of the season, Likely goes 33 catches, 366 yards, 5 touchdowns. Now the 5 touchdowns does kind of get your attention, but Lamar threw 41, and they don't have a true wide receiver one. So that's part of it. So Andrews had like 54 receptions, I believe, and turned that into 11 touchdowns last year. Right away, you look at that and think like, he can't do that again. That's not going to happen again. Is he going to have 20% of his catches be touchdowns? No. He's probably going to have 12 though, 12% of them. And if he gets even a little bit of a bump in the volume, catches 65 balls, 12% of 65, that's like 7-8 touchdowns. So to me, like, he has so much touchdown regression to give. And he's such a plausible volume bounce back candidate that it's like, why are we cutting off our arms to get away from this guy? Like, I look around at like what you can get for him, what you got to give up to get him in Dynasty right now. His value has collapsed from he was the tight end 7 12 months ago to the tight end 13 near about today, and his value adjacents are like Matt Stafford, Bhayshul Tuten, and Kyle Pitts. Go if you have Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews is on the trade block in your league. Rip the internet cord out of the wall in your house so that this podcast stops so that you can go and make that trade offer to the Mark Andrews owner in your league because that's ridiculous. So anyway, yeah, Mark Andrews, there's my case for him. Go ahead.
And I love that you brought him up because people forget he was coming off an injury going into last season, right? Coming off an injury. The other thing people forget, Lamar loves Mark Andrews, loves to target him. Mm-hmm. If Mark Andrews finishes a top 5 tight end in 2025, am I going to be surprised? Hell no. Like he's only 29. That's not old for a tight end. That dude can still get the job done, I think. And if you look at how he finished last season, besides the playoff games, I know he had that drop touchdown. But if you look at the season games, how it ended, bro was on beast mode. He was on the come up. So go get you some Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and that's really how it feels. Is like people when everybody had their eyeballs on him in the season opener against the Chiefs. He disappears. And then again, when everybody had their eyeballs on him in the Buffalo Bills playoff game, he had that, game-losing drop on the 2-point conversion attempt. Mm-hmm. So those bookends have really distorted people's perception of him, it seems like, to me, for sure. Anyway, Lou, good luck with the Bengals. What do you got on the Bengals?
No, I'm doing the Steelers first, man.
Okay, Steelers.
So Pickens is gone. This guy runs a 4.39, can separate, has a huge route tree. And one thing I love about him is his willingness to block because he came from Michigan and played with Jim Harbaugh. A guy that's a buy for me is Roman Wilson. People forgot about him because he spent last season injured as a rookie. He had, I think, ankle issues, hamstring issues. We barely saw him on the field during the season. What I'm trying to say, the reason I want to bring him up is if somebody's willing to give him up for like a mid-late third, go get this guy because the wide receiver room in Pittsburgh outside of Metcalf is wide open. Could it be Calvin Austin? Maybe. I don't want to discredit him. But if I had to bet on a guy, it's going to be Roman Wilson. So he's somebody I'm interested in acquiring because his value to me could easily go up.
These days, but now the equation has changed. Everyone expects, like, if you don't do anything as a rookie, you must suck. Or the team hates you, or you get shithead syndrome. You're Like that Steelers coach said about Deontay Johnson last year. You're with the Instagram models in the hotel room, and they're doing it, and you lose your mind. If you haven't seen that clip, you got to go find that clip. I can't say what he said, but it's amazing.
Check that out, man. You might have to send it to me.
Anyway, like that's the assumption is like you come out swinging in today's NFL. Mike Tomlin, here's my opinion. I can't say this is fact, but this is my opinion. My opinion is that Roman Wilson did get hurt in training camp, missed a bunch of reps, and then Mike Tomlin, who is as old school a head coach we have left in the NFL with Bill Belichick gone, Mike Tomlin said, "Okay, well you missed all the training camp reps, so you're done. We're mothballing you. You're gonna sit on the sideline and learn what it means to be a Steeler." Gave him that old school shit. Gave him that old school treatment of like you missed the install, you missed all the critical reps in the summer. You're done. You're gonna sit. That's what I think happened. It is very dispiriting. It's discouraging on the Roman Wilson narrative front that they then go and get Jonnu. That hurts a little bit when they already have Freiermuth. I don't really know. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that they feel like Pat Freiermuth is not really a three-dimensional type of tight end like a George Kittle, and that he needs to be kind of boxed in a little bit? Maybe. Are they really, really unsure about Roman Wilson? That's entirely plausible too. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he likes vets. He likes guys who have experience and know all of his little idiosyncrasies as a quarterback, know his little, sicko shorthand. Roman Wilson basically hasn't played NFL football yet. So it's entirely plausible that like Aaron Rodgers himself was like, I can't have a rookie out there eating all these snaps, guys. Like I need you to go get me a guy. So it's certainly no sure thing, but I'm cautiously optimistic as well. Like he's a good player. He feels like a Pittsburgh guy. He does.
Yeah, coming from the call system that he came from, like playing with the coach that he did, yeah, I feel like he's a big time fit for Pittsburgh, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in 2025. I'm hoping for good things.
And did you see that picture of him working out in SoCal with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf? He was dressed like a Metallica roadie from the 90s. Like that's very Pittsburgh to me. Like I think it's going to work
awesome.
out there. All right, so moving on to what do I got here?
I'll send you to Cleveland. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I had a guy lined up, and I felt pretty good about him. Joe Flacco was going to be my guy here, and I had a hell of a case to make for him. Maybe I'll still wind up making it. I'm not sure. But in light of recent events, I have to pivot to Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins is now the pick. Now I said somebody whose market is down over the last 12 months. Well, yesterday is part of the last 12 months, is it not?
Okay. So, I'm with you.
So
go ahead.
I don't think there's a lot of leagues where you're going to be able to pull this off. But if somebody's freaking, a lot of fantasy leagues have those guys where they're like, I could never roster Tyreek Hill. I can never roster Adrian Peterson after what he did. No, not on my team. Can't have it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with, having a code of ethics. Great. It does open you up to being taken advantage of in fantasy football, though. So if you have one of those guys in your league and he's hemming and hawing about, I can't believe Quinshon did this, maybe you send him a link of, RJ Harvey, organizing a youth football camp or at, singing in his church choir, and then send him a trade offer for RJ Harvey. And, So my official choice is Quinshon Judkins because that's a guy who could be a real piece of your fantasy football team for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. My selection prior to the Quinshon Judkins news was Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's the heavy favorite to start in week 1 for the Browns. Like, let's just be real. All the smoke we're hearing from the beat is like Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, they're not going to start those guys. It doesn't matter how good of a camp they have. They're not going to start those guys. Kenny Pickett might not be on the team week 1. That's a 50-50 to me at best. Like they're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks all year. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So Flacco's almost definitely going to be the guy there week 1, and he could run away with the job there. The Browns get a very favorable opening salvo schedule wise. They are home for the Bengals, swinging gate defense. The Ravens were easy as hell to move the ball on last year. They go to Baltimore week 2. They also have the Lions in September, which the Lions are going to kick the shit out of them, but the Browns might score 24 points in the process. So the Browns offense with Flacco, with whoever, but probably Flacco, under center in week 1 could come out storming, could come out punching, and Flacco could just, he could have the wind at his back by week 5. The schedule does turn nightmarish for the Browns after week 4. Mm-hmm. If they're not 2-2 by the end of September, shit could get ugly in Cleveland. But yeah, initially the schedule's pretty inviting. So, And you got to throw last year out. Flacco was pretty crappy with the Colts last year, but the Colts were pretty crappy last year, other than like Jonathan Taylor. Over his 5 starts. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing to think about in regards to what you're saying is that offense was built towards Anthony Richardson. It wasn't built towards Flacco, so that might have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason that they brought in Shane Steichen was, well, they already had Shane Steichen, but the whole reason they brought in Anthony Richardson was because the thinking was, well, Shane Steichen comes from Philly with Jalen Hurts, and he can work the same magic with Anthony Richardson. Hasn't really worked out, but that was the thinking at the time. So you got to throw last year out. Over his 5 starts, Joe Flacco's 5 starts with Kevin Stefanski's offense in 2023, Flacco was the quarterback 2 in fantasy football over those 5 games. The QB2, okay? So, and that was obviously primarily through the December fantasy football playoffs. He won multiple leagues for guys. In our Fantasy Index Discord Dynasty leagues. Shout out Keith. Shout out Alex. Screw both of you. So is that going to happen again? Probably not. But could Flacco be a top 15, top 16 quarterback? Absolutely. And in Superflex leagues, you have to care about that right away. So he can be hard. It can be hard to pry starting quarterbacks away from any team, regardless of how good or how bad they are, without also giving a quarterback in return. So if you need one, if you need a quarterback, it's best to move on Flacco now while there's still some doubt about, like, is he really going to be the quarterback or is he not? You can kind of pitch it as like, well, I don't even know if Flacco's going to be the guy there week 1, so I'm taking a chance here. You're not taking that much of a chance. It's going to be Flacco. But he could, like, just looking at like his approximate value market, he can be had for like limp ass 4th rounders, like the 4th rounder of the guy who won the championship last year. If you have that, boom, Joe Flacco, Tyler Conklin, Curtis Samuel, Phil Maffa, like just fucking nobodies. So Flacco, and I know you traded for this guy in a league recently. You paid the going rate too to get him. I know this. You don't want to hear this. Joe Flacco will be as good as Aaron Rodgers in fantasy per game this year. He absolutely will be. Will he start 12 games? Probably not. The
question is, will he play as many games?
Right. Yeah. Right. That's the rub. But while he's out there, he will be borderline startable in Superflex leagues. So, yeah, it's Flacco, but also Judkins. Anyway, now the Bengals. What do you got, Lou?
Luke, there are no buy lows on the Bengals. You have Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. You got to pay a lot for those dudes. So yeah. I dug a little deeper.
Yeah.
I went with your boy. If you need a little bit of depth on your dynasty roster at the tight end position, go shoot a late round pick at Mike Gesicki. He might not show up for you every game, but he's going to score some touchdowns. Joe Burrow will look his way on an offense that's going to score a lot of points in 2025. So right now on KTC, he's a tight end 31. Crazy. That's pretty far down the list, man. That's crazy. Yeah, so I don't want to spend too much time on him, but great buy low, in my opinion, if you need the depth at the position.
I will say Gesicki was not very good last year. He dropped a lot of footballs. He dropped a couple touchdowns. He dropped a touchdown.
Wait, Luke, I'm talking good about your boy, and you're going to bring this stuff up? I'm just like, go ahead.
I feel a journalistic responsibility here. Habeas corpus, do no harm to dynasty rosters here. That what is he? Well, he drops the football a lot. That's not good. But if you're seeing 8, 9, 10 targets a game as a tight end, sometimes doesn't matter if you got the dropsies. Like that alone, that's gold in fantasy football for that position. I will say I'm not sure that Gesicki really is technically eligible for what we were doing here tonight because his market's definitely higher than it was 12 months ago. But that's fine. I understand the Bengals were a tough draw, and it was brave of you to throw yourself on that grenade. So very, very good. All right, we are on to the East, the beasts of the East. Got it.
Let's start off with the Dolphins, Luke. Who do you have for the Dolphins?
Well, you're messing me up. You're jumping ahead. All right. Snip. All right. So as for the Dolphins, there's a lot of options you could go with here. You could go Tua. You can go Tyreek Hill. You could go Jaylen Waddle. I'm going to go Jaylen Waddle here. I'm going to go with the guy who, regardless of what happens in 2025, still has a lot of football left in him long term. We hope that's the case for Tyreek. We hope it's the case for Tua, but it's less sure. So we have to think that the Dolphins are going to accept the things that they cannot change about themselves, about their team here. They can't keep forcing the issue down the field, forcing Tua Tagovailoa to hold the ball and risking what may be the final concussion of his career every week. They can't do that. Like, just ethically, they can't do it, let alone, from a X's and O's winning football games perspective. So they're going to get the ball out quicker than ever. And they were getting it out plenty quick with him last year. But they're going to be getting it out quick. And they just swapped out the rugby yak man, yards after catch man, Jonnu Smith, for Darren Waller. Maybe Waller can learn a new trick at age 32. It's possible. I mean, the Dolphins have worked magic before. But Waddle, to me, is the obvious candidate to absorb most of that short area work that Jonnu was feasting on when last we saw him, before the Dolphins said, okay, thanks, bye. We have to send you away to get Jalen Ramsey's contract off the books. Waddle caught 104 balls as a rookie for Brian Flores, working almost exclusively underneath instead of deep, before Mike McDaniel comes to town and turns him into a deep threat right alongside Tyreek Hill. So Jaylen Waddle's already proven that he's a very versatile piece. Yes, obviously the issue has been injuries. You're saying the exact same thing about Chris Olave. So do you want Chris Olave's injury risk or do you want Jaylen Waddle's? I'll take Waddle because for the time being, he is still attached to the Mike McDaniel offense, which, regardless of whether the Dolphins are winning games or not, the offense has generally been friendly. So Waddle has gone from the wide receiver 11 near about a year ago all the way down to the wide receiver 27 today. That's a lot of implied value right there. That's a big slide for a guy his age. He does still have a contract. He's getting $28 million a year. He got more than Nico Collins did, last offseason. He can currently be had for guys like Zay Flowers, Matthew Golden, and DK Metcalf. I wouldn't hesitate on the first two at all. Zay and Matthew Golden, I would absolutely give them both up for Waddle right now.
That's true. I'll definitely take DK. Zay, not sure about that. Maybe.
I see the argument. They're both smaller guys. I see it. But to me, Waddle has proven it in unfriendly offenses, unfriendly circumstances before. Zay has only ever balled with Lamar Jackson in the Todd Monken offense. He's only ever known very friendly circumstances. We figure that he will continue to for the next couple of years, but I don't buy that Flowers is going to be the guy long term. Somebody's going to show up to challenge him at some point. That's how I feel.
Let's dig into the Bills. Let me read you a quote real quick, Luke. When that shit trash, you got to get better. That's from Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman. What I love about Keon Coleman is that he's acknowledging the fact that his rookie season was not a successful season. Literally saying that shit was trash. He was a 201 pick in the 2024 draft. He's been working this offseason on his explosiveness coming off the line. Mm-hmm. He's been working on strength and also strengthening his hands because he kind of had a drop problem. Something else about him in his rookie season, even though he only had 29 receptions for 556 yards, that led to a 19.2 yards per reception. I know a lot of people love Khalil Shakir in the Bills offense going into 2025, and I think he's a great wide receiver, but I always want to target upside. If Keon hones in on his game, truly works on getting better, which it seems like he really wants to be a good wide receiver, I'm going to take a shot on him. Right now, KTC has him as wide receiver 47. He's going so late in drafts. Yeah. You got to take that shot when he's there, man. It's a good shot to take. Keon Coleman.
Yeah, Shakir's a great player, but the Bills did just give him that contract, but the contract, it was 4 years, $53 million. That sounds like a lot, but that's basically like the Darnell Mooney contract, even the Gabe Davis contract from last year with the Jaguars. It's $13 million a year. That's what Mooney got. I think Mooney got 14. That's what Mooney got. That's what Gabe Davis got. What does that say? I mean, it says that the team doesn't think you're ever going to be the guy, and that you're okay with not being the guy, like the guy. Yeah, I think we got to keep in mind, historically, our dad's fantasy football days, our dad's NFL. Wide receivers weren't supposed to do anything before year 3. It was almost unheard of. Roddy White did nothing until year 4, and then he turned into a friggin' borderline Hall of Famer. He was a ghost the first couple years in Atlanta. The Bills still have a help wanted sign on their wide receiver 1 job hanging in the window. And yeah, obviously it's going to be Keon Coleman getting the first crack at it. The Bills pass offense has changed significantly under Joe Brady. Like they are throwing it less than they ever did under Ken Dorsey. And the problem is that it's working. So like the offense was very good last year. They're not going to have a ton of incentive to go out of their way to change things until they meet some actual resistance from the rest of the NFL. But the James Cook situation is a little testy. You know, I mean, we have seen it happen before where a running back isn't happy about his contract. All of a sudden he takes his foot off the gas a little bit, like what we saw with Josh Jacobs his last year in Oakland or Las Vegas, perhaps. So, you know, and also Keon Coleman could just be better than some people thought based on his rookie season and come out and force the issue. He could do that. You know, I was pretty into what I saw from him on his college tape coming out of Florida State. I think he also went to Kent State, I want to say, for a year or two. I
believe he transferred. I just don't remember from where yet.
Yeah. There's no reason that Keon Coleman can't ball out, and he needs to, because, you know, they gave him a pass on his year 1 being kind of so-so. He's got to go out there and earn it now to avoid the Bills saying, okay, well, we tried, and going back to the drawing board in 2026 in a new rookie class.
Yeah, Keon Coleman wants to be a wide receiver 1. He wants to work towards that. And more importantly, I believe the Bills want him to be the wide receiver 1. They want that to work out. So, yeah, take the shot.
That shit trash.
Definitely.
That shit was trash.
Great interview, man. Let's go to New York. And who's your guy for the Jets?
A surprisingly tough one because you can't say Garrett Wilson. There is no tight end to speak of anywhere in sight. Don't talk to me about Mason Taylor. I don't care about that guy. Justin Fields' market is up because it was on life support 12 months ago. It's Breece Hall by default, but I love Breece Hall, so this is an easy one for me. Breece Hall, this is rock simple. Breece is hella good. Breece is still very good, guys. I know there's been a lot of chatter about his knee, he was hurt all year, he didn't have the same explosiveness. Well, which is it? He doesn't have the explosiveness or he was hurt all year? It can't be both. Snip, snap, snip, snap. You can't say he was hurt and then also criticize him for playing hurt. Which is it? So that doesn't make sense. So Breece Hall's good. The Jets are going to #establish it. They're going to run the snot out of the football. We know this. The Jets aspire to be a top 5 rushing offense this year with Breece as the engine. He's in a contract year, and with 70-plus receptions being begged of him, again, there's nobody else but Garrett Wilson to catch footballs here. Breece has no choice but to eat his face off. He was Dynasty's RB2 just a year ago. He has tumbled all the way to RB11 today, near about. That's tremendous potential value. He could still turn into, he could be on the Saquon Barkley trajectory just ahead of schedule, where Saquon was crippled by crap-ass Giants offenses year after year after year. He could have a solid year here, escape New York in the spring, and go to another team and become a monster. He is one of the few true 3-down backs who excels in all phases of the game. So, yeah, you could potentially get Breece in some Superflex leagues for guys like Michael Penix or even Chase Brown. Go do that. I would send Chase Brown for Breece Hall. I would send Chase and an early second for Breece right now. Absolutely. Give it to me.
I love it. And if we can look into a crystal ball and go to the future of 2026, would we be surprised if Breece Hall is once again above Etienne, above Bucky Irving? These are things that could happen. He's that talented.
Yep. So
great buy low at the moment.
I would almost be surprised if he doesn't come out and stabilize and pull himself back clear of several of those guys. I think by this time next year, objectively, it'll be unanimous. He is more valuable going forward than Kyron Williams. He is more valuable going forward than Bucky Irving, potentially. I mean, the Tampa Bay offense does carry quite an advantage, but he could punch his way clear of Irving. This is a bet on talent situation for sure. Does that wrap up the East for us?
No, we're going to go to New England Patriots. So as I was digging through, man, I got tired of spinning that Russian relay wheel, man. I was looking at Keishon Boutte, Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas, all all potential maybes. So to me, I just kind of went with the sure thing. And Stefon Diggs, wide receiver 59 at the moment. I'm willing to look past the injury. I'm going to go ahead and look past the pink cocaine boat scandal. Let's forget about that.
That helps. What are you talking about? Look past it. That's a good thing.
Drake May is going to look his way a lot, right? He's going to be a security blanket for Drake May in that offense. If I'm a competing team and I need some wide receiver depth, like he's a great target to go after, because there might be some teams that want him off their roster ASAP, especially if they're rebuilding. They're not 100% sure if they're going to be competing next season. So I think he's a great wide receiver to target at his current value.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that, sent like a couple seconds, maybe even a first, to go grab Diggs at kind of a discount last year because he had just been traded from the Bills to the Texans, and everyone's thinking, oh, Diggs in that offense. It's I'm here for a good time, not a long time. They're thinking like it was going to be a big year for him, and it was. When Diggs went down in half PPR scoring, he was the wide receiver 10. So he was a true fantasy wide receiver 1 last year at the time of his injury. So he was not cooked at all. I love it. Like, yes, this is the guy to go and attack. I mean, it's the Patriots. Like, who else is there? Ramondre Stevenson, your boy Javon Baker. Like, no, it's the only guy to really take a chance on here is Diggs. Coming off the ACL, it's easy to think like, okay, well, this is it. I won't be surprised if Diggs is still fantasy relevant in 2026. Like what we saw from him, in a new role, a different role from what we had grown accustomed to from him in his Buffalo days, but in a new role, still look great. And then the speed with which he's come back from this ACL tear at his age, 30, 31 years old, to already be running and cutting kind of, not 100%, but certainly 80, 85% a couple months ago in OTAs, like that's crazy. I don't think Diggs is near the end. I think we get 2 more years out of him. So yeah, if you can get him for even a second rounder, late second rounder, love it for sure.
Let's venture into the AFC South and start with the Houston Texans.
Those bums. Jeez, what a joke of an organization. All right, so Stefon Diggs. Now the Diggs pick I like even better than this guy because I'd rather have 1 year of wide receiver 2 production than 3 years of wide receiver 3 production out of a player in Dynasty. Like I want to go win. So this guy's probably more of a wide receiver 3, but I'm gonna go Christian Kirk, who quietly comes over from the division rival Jags to the Texans, and the case pretty much makes itself. Stefon Diggs took like 53% of his snaps out of the slot last year. Tank Dell's down for the foreseeable future, and Jaden Higgins presumably is going to be on the boundary full-time along with Nico Collins. Nico Collins took like 76% of his snaps out wide. They don't want him in the slot. Christian Kirk is a natural fit to inherit that Stefon Diggs role that emerged in this offense last year. And again, Diggs was the wide receiver 10 when he went down. Is Kirk going to come in and eat that hard? No, probably not. Clearly they like Jaden Higgins. Jaylen Noel is lurking to potentially get involved down the stretch if Christian Kirk starts to kind of hit the wall. And that is something to keep in mind here is is Christian Kirk a true number 1? No, he's not. Like he cosplayed as one in 2022 for the Jags, but he's a Robin. He's not a Batman. But in this offense, with you got to keep in mind, like guys like Nico Collins, the level of defensive attention that they require, it is going to put him in single coverage against, an outside linebacker, against, the third cornerback, the weaker coverage safety a lot of the time. And he can still eat that work. He can eat it up. He's pretty good in the red zone too, historically. He's hemorrhaged like a third of his dynasty resale value over the last 12 months after crashing out with the Jags. Obviously, he gets his doors completely blown off by Brian Thomas Jr. in Jacksonville last year. But Kirk's down outside like the top 70 wide receivers in most formats right now, which is that's you're in the cellar at that point for sure. So you can peel him off for like spare parts type players like Hollywood Brown, Alec Ayo-Manor, where we have no idea if that guy's ever going to be anything. I would absolutely go do that right now. Christian Kirk is going to be a useful player in fantasy football this year. I'm pretty sure. All 17 games, I'm not so sure, but for some.
Yeah, people here in Houston are already saying that he should be a good security blanket for C.J. Stroud. Yep. I love Noel, but it looks like people are believing more that's going to be not this season, but next season. I think Christian Kirk's a great buy just to see what happens. And like you said, you can get him for spare parts. You can get him as a throw-in in a trade. So I like it.
And I'm not wishing this. I'm certainly not wishing it on anybody, especially not this guy. But Nico Collins has been prone to dings and scrapes here and there over his career. He got lucky for the most part. No, he missed time in 2023 too, actually. Never mind. He has had a tough time playing the full slate of games. If Collins misses time, Kirk could go nuts.
I'm going to go ahead and take us to Tennessee and discuss the Titans. So this guy I'm going to bring up, last season, 260 carries, 1,079 yards, and 5 touchdowns on a very, very bad offense. On KDC, he's running back number 37. I want to bring up Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, to me, right now is a great buy low. Right now, I think he's going for a late second. This is a guy that you can flex, or if an injury happens, he's an easy start in your lineup. The Titans are going to be better than they were last year. They just have to be. Yep. And if he was able to do that last year, I think it's going to go up from there. And people are worried about Tajay Spears, and he will split some workload with Spears, but I think that's just to his benefit. Keep him healthy, keep him on the field. The guy looked great last season. So I'm willing to buy in on Tony Pollard, especially as a contender.
Another point in Pollard's favor is that Brian Callahan has already talked a big game about taking work off of Pollard before in their first season together in Tennessee, and then completely backed off of it when push actually came to shove, and they needed to put the best player on the field to go and try to stay competitive in football games. Tony Pollard is the best player there, according to Tennessee. According to Brian Callahan and the running backs coach there, like they couldn't justify taking him off the field. Yeah, is Tajay Spears going to be involved to some degree? I hope so, because I don't want Pollard to be eating 20 carries a game again like he was for several games last year, because the Titans they had to have him. So he's a good player. An underrated player, I think. People still have like his last year in Dallas taste in their mouth, and then the Titans as a whole stunk last year, so he's kind of getting persecuted for that. But again, perfectly said. The Titans mathematically, inevitably have to be better this year. I think we're all generally pretty optimistic about the effect that Cam Ward is going to have on this offense. Pollard's a great pick. I love that pick. So from your favorite team, the Tennessee Titans, on to...
How dare you?
You're a big Titans
The
fan.
Colts.
The Tennessee Oilers. Never forget. All right. From the Oilers on to the Colts. I went back and forth. This was my hardest one. I went back and forth multiple times. I briefly was gonna be Adonai Mitchell for me, for reasons I stated in the previous episode when he was my pick in some round of that startup draft episode. I ultimately swung back to Michael Pittman, and I'll be honest. His market is just down so much that it's like it's too much value, but he's got a contract. Like he is still making a respectable amount of money now. So he's got 2 years left on his deal. Now, granted, all the guarantees are up after this year. So Pittman is effectively in a contract year, but that's motivation. That's motivation for him to, last year Colts were a disaster and everything, soft disaster. Everything pretty much went wrong. When he was hurt, didn't have a ton of incentive to play through that and risk, more serious injury. Now he does, because Josh Downs is coming. He is not the clear wide receiver one anymore. The writing's on the wall there. He has to either go and reestablish himself as the guy or get ready for his next gig elsewhere in 2026. Either way, he needs to go out and put some good tape on the field, for sure. And whether that happens in Indianapolis in 2026 or somewhere else, Pittman's 6'4", he's 223, he's fast enough on the outside that he's going to land in one more big deal in the NFL. Is he going to be, $30 million a year like DK Metcalf just got? Probably not. But he's going to get another respectable contract to be a starter somewhere, and his market is just down so much. Right now, he can be had for guys like Isaiah Pacheco, your boy Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, who I'm high on, but he has done absolutely nothing. He could be a bust. Like, Pittman to me is like, there's just too much value here. He could absolutely bounce back either with the Colts in 2025 or with a better team in 2026. He has the talent to do that. He just has to, stay healthy and get somewhat competent quarterback play.
I think you're right in the aspect where he's a great buy low potentially. I will say this. I believe I mentioned this on the last episode. Back injuries always worry me. He didn't require surgery last season. I guess he let it like naturally heal up. And I won't pretend to be a doctor here, but I always worry like, what if that's an injury that can easily be re-aggravated? You brought up Trey Harris and Kyle Williams. I honestly think I'd rather have both of those guys over Pittman, even though Pittman did flash like, to be a high potential wide receiver for the Colts in the past. But if you can get him for the right price, I'm good with taking that risk. I do worry about that back, man.
Weren't you the guy who was real high on Xavier Liga last year, and then that wound up being a total bust? You're telling us you like Trey Harris over Michael Pittman?
We're in the AFC, man. Why are we talking NFC stuff?
Sorry. You're
That's
right.
for next week.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance sustained. All right. So we're on to the
Jacksonville
Jags.
Jaguars. I want to bring up Travis Etienne. Right now, running back 33, which I think is a crime. People forget last season, week 4, he had a shoulder injury against my Houston Texans. Week 6, he had a hamstring injury against the Bears. Hamstring injuries can be hard to come back from for running backs. That stuff lingers on. And I think people are holding last year against him and not even thinking about the injuries. This is a guy that flashed being a running back 1 in the NFL. He showed great potential. I know people are talking about Tuten. I know they're talking about Tank Bigsby. Yeah, they're threats in the backfield, but guess what? None of them are Travis Etienne when he's healthy.
Yep.
So at the price he's at right now, at running back 33 on KTC, I'm willing to buy back in at that price and see what he does in 2025, because I think he's going to be motivated to play strong, because he needs to fight for that next contract, right? So he's a guy I'm definitely interested in.
He could easily wind up being the best pick of all the guys from this episode. Easily. Mm-hmm. Offense that we assume is on the ascent. Good pedigree. I don't think that there's a big material difference between Travis Etienne and like Kenneth Walker. Not like a big one, because they've both had injury issues. They have both been crippled by terrible offensive line play, questionable offensive schemes, and the only difference is like we seem to have pretty much given Ken Walker a pass for a lot of that, but Travis Etienne is like on death's door because they go and get a day 2 running back from Virginia. Bhayshul Tuten could be a guy. There is absolutely no guarantee that he will be a guy. Absolutely none. We have seen nothing, guys. Nothing. So,
and I wish Tuten nothing but like the best in the NFL, and he might be a really good running back. But sometimes I'm a little bit worried about guys that weren't really getting talked about until they flashed that. Oh my goodness!
The absurd numbers at the combine, yeah. The absurd athleticism.
At the combine, yeah. And until they flashed at the combine, and don't get me wrong, that was exceptional. Like the dude has speed.
Sure.
Speed doesn't always equate to success in the NFL.
Isaac Guerendo
has proven.
Isaac Guerendo did the exact. Bhayshul Tuten was the Isaac Guerendo of this draft class, where it was like, hey, whoa, hold on, this guy's for real, because he showed up and he won gold in the underwear Olympics. He did. He won gold at the underwear Olympics. So did Guerendo. Guerendo, his outlook going forward is very uncertain. Still, he has not proven anything. So that's what I expect to be the case for Tuten this time next year, is like, we still have no idea what we really have with this guy. And he could wind up just being a really good kick returner. That would not surprise me either. I mean, he's got the build for that too. He actually might be too small to be a kick returner these days. But anyway, no, I agree. That's a home run. That I wish I had the Jag so that I could have made him my choice instead. All right, wrapping up with the AFC West. Don't have a ton to say about this guy because your tough one was the Bengals. You stuck me with the Chiefs, you son of a bitch. So on the Chiefs, there's not really anybody. Quiet, settle down. There's not really anybody to talk about, like Rashee Rice. His price is up. Patrick Mahomes, come on, that's stupid. I almost went with Kelsey, but he's old enough at this point where even I'm like, yeah, he could play 2 more years. He could also play 1. He could play 1. At that point, it's like, I mean, the tight end position as a whole has recovered, it feels like, enough to where, like, in tight end premium, okay, then fine. The choice is Kelsey. But in most leagues, like, I'm going to go deep cut. I'm going to go, speaking of Isaac Guerendo, speaking of, like, random dudes from the San Francisco running back stable that might just evaporate into the mist, like Matt Breida and fucking Tevin Coleman and guys like that. Elijah Mitchell. So Elijah Mitchell was, first off, he killed Trey Sermon single-handedly. Trey Sermon was going to be the new hotness in San Francisco until Elijah Mitchell showed up and said, no, you're not, and had Trey Sermon on milk boxes by like week 6 of his rookie year. He's been injured basically nonstop since. He has just been in traction, in full body casts, just so good at missing the entire NFL season because he did something terrible to his body again. So this is not real likely to hit. But it is worth pointing out.
I love the shot, though.
It is worth pointing out that if you are like me and you remain deeply Isaiah Pacheco skeptical, there ain't nobody else here. Really. Not really. Kareem Hunt, that's a short term. Kareem Hunt is 2025 Pacheco insurance. They have no real plans for him beyond this year. Brashard Smith, I mean, that guy might just be a camp body, ultimately, long term. Yes, because of the recent success of Tyrone Tracy, it's easy to project that onto Brashard Smith and say, oh, imagine Tyrone Tracy in this offense. Brashard Smith is not Tyrone Tracy. He's Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith hasn't proven anything in the NFL yet. Tyrone Tracy has. So we don't know. So, like, there is still a window. And, Brashard Smith, I probably would have gone with him, except his price is not down over the last 12 months. Elijah Mitchell's is in the dumpster. Although I will say, his price is higher than I would have expected for a guy that hasn't played any meaningful football. He costs like a 4th rounder. According to dynasty calculators, now granted, that's because he's currently a Kansas City Chief, and everybody wants to speculate on Kansas City Chiefs. But if you need like a running back 6, or if you're a Pacheco owner, really is the scenario here. If you're a Pacheco owner, you know that Kareem Hunt is dust and he sucks and he's washed and he's cooked and he's cap and he has no riz, all that stuff. Then Elijah Mitchell could be for you because when he was last healthy at the end of the Obama administration, he looked pretty good. Now, will he do anything? Probably not. But he might. He might. It's there to be had if he goes and takes it. So, Elijah Mitchell.
I like it, man. I like it. He's a really freaking good running back. And if he gets a shot, he could run with it.
He can fly.
Definitely.
It's not going to happen, but you never know.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. Luke, this is not me using my platform here on Drinkin Dynasty to discuss a player that I currently own in one of our money leagues, right? I wouldn't do that.
You would
That's
never
not
do
who
that.
I am.
What little credibility you have left would be gone, so I know you wouldn't do that.
Even though I celebrated when he first signed with the Chargers, and I at that time probably could have told everybody to suck it, but I didn't. I held off. I'm going to bring up Najee Harris. Najee Harris, running back. What is he right now? Like running back 44? Keep trade cut.
Down there.
Najee Harris on that Chargers offense. So let's say this. He's a veteran. Coaches love veterans. Veterans help protect their quarterback. He has 4 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. And regardless if Amari and Hampton is there or not, it's going to be a 1-2 punch. They're going to work on keeping both of those guys healthy. They're both going to deliver on that team.
Yeah.
What a great buy low to have as a depth piece on your dynasty roster. And he's going to want to play hard because he needs a contract next year.
And he's a buy even lower after he almost blew his face off on July 4th, a couple nights ago. So there's that angle too.
Where's that angle?
Sounds like he's probably okay. He might have a cool new scar to show off to chicks at the bar, but other than that, should be all right. Honestly, when I saw the contract that he signed, I was so shocked that it didn't process. It didn't compute for me. It still is shocking me 4 months later, that the Chargers got him for 1 year, $5 million. That's what DeAndre Hopkins got from the Ravens.
It's crazy.
Tyler Lockett.
It's crazy and it's kind of criminal, to be honest.
Tyler Lockett got $4 million from the Titans. Elijah Mitchell's contract with the Chiefs is worth up to $3.5 million. The Najee Harris contract is wild. Does that mean anything good for him? No, but I don't think it necessarily means anything bad either. You could say that Najee Harris took this deal because he wanted to be in a good offense that would make him look good, that would help him go get the real contract that he's after in 2026 because, his agent sat with him, told him, look, based on what you've put down with the Steelers so far, I know it's not you, it was them, but teams are just not going to pay you this money. What do you think? Should we go do a prove it deal? And that's what he did. Najee Harris is playing for his livelihood long term, his post football, bankroll here in 2025. Like, he needs to go out and take control of his backfield. He really does. There's a chance that he won't. There's a chance, absolutely, that Omarion Hampton is just too good to keep him out of the hen house for Najee Harris's purposes. But there's also the possibility that because, again, he has experience. He is that veteran. He doesn't really offer more size than Hampton. But, he's been a very durable player, has never missed a game in the NFL. There's a possibility that he winds up at least eating ahead of Omarion Hampton for most of the season. And that's not baked into his price right now. The bake into his price is like, Omarion Hampton's going to overtake him by October. That's kind of the price that he has on him right now. And I think he should be worth more than that because that could happen, but it's not assured yet. We haven't seen Omarion Hampton live. We don't know. So, I like that pick.
Awesome, man. Let's go with the Raiders.
All right.
What do you have for the Raiders?
I said, when I was showing off my beer earlier, West Coast IPA. There was a West Coast tie-in here.
Nice.
Now, the Raiders aren't really on the West Coast anymore, technically. Whatever. They're always going to be the Oakland Raiders to me. I don't care about they moved to Vegas. That was stupid. Anyway, the Oakland Raiders, there we go, have a running back. You might have heard of him. He's a big deal this year. Of course, I'm talking about Sincere McCormick. Sincere McCormick is the big deal running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know who this Ashton Genty guy is. I don't really care. He's a flash in the pan. He's got bust written all over him. I call him Ashton Busty. Ashton Busty, I call him. I'm doing a little bit of a Trump thing right now. So obviously, Ashton Genty is the new hotness in Las Vegas. Breaking news. News alert. So McCormick is dead-ended in Vegas, unfortunately. But after his first 2 NFL seasons were zeroed out by injuries, he's going into a contract year here. So if he can pry away the change of pace role, the change of pace work in this backfield from whoever it is, we assume Raheem Mostert, and at least get on the field a little bit here and there, if he can be... So years ago, Michael Turner was the direct handcuff backup to LaDainian Tomlinson for the Chargers. And in games where Tomlinson would get banged up or he'd miss the game, Turner would come out and just go friggin' nuts. Just be an instant running back one whenever Tomlinson was out. Then as soon as Tomlinson came back, Michael Turner was back in a shoebox under the bed, and Tomlinson was back to eating everything. So if McCormick can be something like the Michael Turner, the Genty's Tomlinson here, to stick with the analogy, then in the spring of 2026, it's possible that as a free agent, somebody wants, the Cowboys, who have no real plan going forward beyond 2025 at running back, other teams like them, could look at him and go, hey, you showed a little bit for the Raiders last year on a team that was maybe not that good. Why don't you come in and compete to be part of this committee here? And I fucked it up. The West Coast IPA is because Sincere McCormick is from the LBC. He's a Long Beach, California native. That alone means the dog factor is high, okay? I want Sincere McCormick deep on my bench, but I still want Sincere McCormick around because I believe, and God forbid, Ashton Genty were to sprain an MCL, You know, those high ankles, man. You can't trust those high ankles at all. They sprain all the time. McCormick could be a plug-and-play RB2 at that point. I'm just saying.
I love how deep you went here. Like I'm really enjoying this. But I will say this to kind of back you up, man. Like Mostert's not a young pup. That dude's up there in age. Zamir White did absolutely nothing last season. Nothing at all.
No.
Who's to say McCormick doesn't get a shot, right? So I love how deep you went here, man. You really dug into that. So
Pete Carroll, once upon a time, was the head coach of a team that used a first-round pick on a running back, and what Pete Carroll then did was say, that's nice, I'm not going to use him. That happened with Rashad Penny once upon a time. That's not what's going to happen with Ashton Genty, but you can't trust Pete too much. You can't trust him. That Pete's wily. You got to keep an eye on that Pete. His name's Pete, and you can't trust any guy named Pete.
Oh, man, I love it. Let's go to Denver and discuss the Broncos. I'm gonna read you another quote. I'm in a quote mood today.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. Dobbins likely has the early advantage for the most snaps in the room because of his ability as a pass blocker and intelligence on third downs. J.K. Dobbins right now in KTC is running back 47. You can get him for an early third. He's gonna get touches.
Oh yeah.
I love RJ Harvey, but there's a real possibility that J.K. Dobbins is the number one running back on the Denver Broncos offense in 2025.
Yep.
I've said this before. If health wasn't an issue, if injury history was not an issue, Dobbins is a more talented running back than RJ Harvey, right? And I still believe RJ Harvey, in my opinion, believe RJ Harvey is a great player to own in Dynasty.
Sure.
But let's not kid around. J.K. Dobbins is going to get some work. And right now, people, I honestly believe, are looking to get rid of him on their Dynasty rosters.
No.
If you get him cheap, he might be a plug-and-play guy that you can look forward to giving you some good week-to-week points on your roster. So, yeah, J.K. Dobbins.
I will say that I'm into the Dobbins argument just because, I mean, we neither of these guys have a mandate. Like, Amarian Hampton was a first-rounder. Like, that's a little bit different. Like, Najee Harris is a little, it's like, use like the UFC terminology. Like, Najee Harris is on his back now. He's in his ground game guard, like trying to keep Amarian Hampton from choking him out. That's not the case here. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are both standing up. They're both standing up and throwing punches. Like, it is nobody's in control here. They used a second rounder on Harvey. So what? Like, Sean Payton. Look at Sean Payton's track record. He had Mark Ingram. He had Alvin Kamara. He had Reggie Bush. Other than, like, peak Alvin Kamara, height of his powers Alvin Kamara, nobody could take over a Sean Payton backfield. He just doesn't believe in it. He does not believe in it. Will RJ Harvey outtouch J.K. Dobbins in some games? Sure. J.K. Dobbins is going to outtouch R.J. Harvey in approximately as many or more, and J.K. Dobbins is much cheaper. It is that simple for 2025 purposes. No, I love the Dobbins pick. That's absolutely the correct answer. I'm a little disappointed you didn't go with Evan Ingram, but I didn't actually look at the numbers. Ingram may not have qualified for the rules here.
No, I did think about Ingram.
Sure, yeah.
But I wanted to show Dobbins some love, man.
I just had Ingram roster on some teams, so you covered my Keon Coleman, you covered my Roman Wilson. I was hoping you would go for the Triple Crown, but it's okay. Well, Lou, so I know that you know, but I don't think our legions of listeners out there in the internet maelstrom yet know. So we're going to be going on a bit of a brewery tour here in Texas, starting in Dallas. If, depending on how that goes, may expand to our sister city down south in Houston. We're going to be going to some breweries around town here in Dallas coming up. The first one on the docket, on the calendar, is on July 26th, 7 p.m. at Bitter Sisters Brewery in Addison, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. We're in talks with a few other breweries in the area. If you're listening to this and are in the Dallas area and want to come get on the show with us and ask us a fantasy football question, absolutely come out to one of those shows that are coming up.
We would love it.
In the meantime, we'll be back next week to talk NFC buy lows. If you're free.
Yeah, man, looking forward to that. Of course.
If you're free, I don't want to just assume. I know you're a busy man. There are a lot of demands on your time, so I think we accomplished what we came here to accomplish, my friend. How you feel?
Definitely. Loving it, man. Ready to talk some NFC and ready to view some Dallas breweries, man. I'm excited.
Just remember, I get dibs on all the NFC teams that I want, and you have to take whatever's left over. Just remember. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will be back with you next week to cover NFC buy lows. We'll see you next time.
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in.